Welcome to BALM Podcast. Super excited to have you guys here. Hello, it's Nikki Cuesta. We're in another episode of Building a Leadership Mindset podcast. I am super excited to introduce our guest to you, but just a few updates. We are in the new year. I am excited to be now live on StreamYard with our podcast. And I just launched my new book, Building a Leadership Mindset, 13 Mindsets to Give Yourself Permission to Succeed. You can go on the website, www.buildingaleadershipmindset.com, and order your book there, or you can DM me on Facebook, and we can have other forms of payment accepted, and I can get you an autographed copy. It's also on Amazon, but when you purchase from Amazon, unfortunately, I can't get you an autographed copy. So with all that being said, I just want to introduce our guest today, and we are connected through the Business Leaders Academy. And I'm super excited to know her. She is Rebekah Hope. She is an author, speaker, certified, and life coach. Rebekah is originally from a small Amish community in northern Michigan, having experienced various types of abuse as a child and feeling trapped in an environment that nearly took her life. Rebekah chose to leave the Amish life behind at 17 years old, including everything and everyone she knew. She traveled across the country with only the clothes on her back and a few dollars in her pocket. Apart from the major culture shock, Rebekah experienced life in ways some would deem unimaginable. After surviving a suicide attempt at age 18, she found a new meaning to life and vowed to herself, to the next generation, that she would use her story to help as many people as possible. Today, Rebekah has done that through her book, Beyond the Brokenness, and by becoming a certified life coach specializing in personal development to help people through the most challenging parts of their lives. Rebekah's coaches Rebekah coaches from personal experience as well as from professional education in psychology and mental health. Seeing as how her life has been transformed through a series of better choices, Rebekah strongly believes that there is hope for all, and she is bringing the hope to anyone who is willing to stop and hear her voice. I am excited to bring her on. Hello, Rebekah. Welcome to
Hello.
BALM. How are you?
I am good. I am good. So blessed to be here.
I am so blessed to have you. We met through the Business Leaders Academy, or Business Leaders Network, actually, with J.R. Spears. And when I heard your story, I just knew that, we had to bring awareness to this topic on BALM. And I think you have a motto that you go by, and I just wanted to recite it for you. Do what you can with what you have from where you are, because there is hope for all. What inspired that mantra for you?
What inspired that is because I feel okay. I'm just gonna say for myself. I used to make excuses for not doing more, and I used to, there's there's reasons why people don't do what they should do. And one of them was sharing my story. I would find every excuse in the book not to share my story, and even more than that, excuses as to why my personal life wasn't changing. Well, I finally realized that if I just look at what I already have and I use that in my best ability from where I am, then actually that's all I can do. And if everyone, if everyone does that, I mean, we can literally change the world, because it's when we change our world is when the world will change. And I feel like so few people look within. They just look at what they don't have, and they look at what someone else does have that they don't. And if they just look at what they have already and they use that, regardless of where they are, they're already always in a position where they can use something. So that's kind of what inspired that is I want to start a movement where people just realize that they have something, they're going to use it to their best ability from where they are.
I love that. I love that. And you have been through some tough times. Just give us a backstory in your community and what, as much as you want to share with us, and then we'll go into what awareness you want to raise for our audience.
Yeah, I guess I should have asked you how much time we got. So, um, because I say that because I could be sitting here all day and I could talk all day because you can't really summarize 27 years in, a few minutes. But backstory, born and raised Amish, very conservative, and I experienced a lot of abuse, a lot of bullying all throughout school. Where I grew up, we were only allowed to go through 8 years of schooling. So, by the time I was 13 years old, I was done with school. And then the education continued at home, where we learned how to run a household, how to pretty much set me up to be a future wife and have my own children and all of that. Um, my dad owned a farm, so I learned a lot of the farming traits and all of that. But just growing up, like I never felt, how would you say, I never felt like I belonged, and I didn't quite understand why. Um, Other than I was just not the person they wanted me to be. Um, by the time I was 8 years old, I was a bulimia and I was suicidal. I was constantly looking for ways to just end it because I saw no way out. I mean, at 8 years old, like, what else is there to life if you're already so depressed and down? And it kind of continued until I then turned into a rebellious teen and pretty much did not what every teen does, but I was the troubled teen, what they would label a troubled teen. And I just knew that I needed to get out of there. Somehow I had convinced myself that in order for the abuse to stop, I would have to completely leave the Amish community. And I say that because that seemed to be where it was. And I saw no other way out. But in saying that, not all Amish are abusive. I want to make sure I put that out there, because when I share my story, a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is a reflection on the Amish, so all Amish, are like that." No, they're not. That's just my story. Um, but yeah, I was always the fat girl. I was always just told I would never amount to anything. I was always the one in trouble. And it led to, at 17 years old, I finally escaped. And uh, I actually, like, I knew there was a possibility that I wouldn't survive because I had no survival skills outside of the Amish. I didn't know what America was. I didn't know how to survive in it. I didn't know how I would get my next meal. But somehow I just knew that it would be okay. And in my mind, like, I told myself, um, even if I were to die leaving here, I felt like that would be better than staying. That's just kind of where I was at. But thankfully, after I left, or soon after, I actually found Jesus. And that completely transformed my life, some for the better, and then for a while for the worse, because I didn't quite know how to, just interpret the Bible. I didn't know. I didn't have someone to walk alongside me. I didn't have that community to help me be a Christian. So
Before we move on, Rebekah, because you said something very powerful, that you escaped, and how was that battle in your head to really get the courage to make that happen? Like, what was that final straw for you that you said, you know what, I have to go?
So what I kind of had just said is I honestly did not care if I didn't survive, but also kind of what pushed me was when I was 11 years old, I had a little brother that came into the world, and he was my saving grace. He was literally my saving grace. And then uh, at that point, like, I was just like, okay, now my goal is to keep him from experiencing the same thing I did. Like, I was very adamant that, like, that's literally why I stayed as long as I did, because I believed I could keep him from experiencing what I did. Well, when I realized I couldn't, I was like, well, at least save myself. If I can get out, figure out how to get out of this, I can help him get out as well. So that was kind of like, if you were the final straw for me, was just realizing that I couldn't save him either. So
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Sometimes we are put in those positions and we stay behind on certain times in our lives because we're trying to save someone else. But really, we have to, if we're not 100% having the strength or the ability to be able to help someone else, we do have to take those leaps of faith. And so you did, you escaped and you found Jesus, which was amazing, right? And what was that journey like? And I know you were about to continue speaking on that, but I just needed our audience to know that, we take acts throughout our lives, and you can do it. Sometimes have to go beyond that comfortability, no matter what is on the other end of that, because if not now, when? And if I don't, will I survive? So thank you for sharing that. So we find Jesus, and how did that uh, help you?
yeah, so the first few years of finding Jesus, I would some people would call it the equivalent of a roller coaster, even though I don't necessarily like roller coasters. um, it was a constant. I need Jesus, but who is he really? How can I felt like I finally had a friend who would never leave. But then to build that
Mm,
relationship, I didn't have the community to start out with to help me understand who he truly is and what he's done for me. All I knew is that he had died for my sins, and that, there's a chance for me to get to heaven now. Um, but the more that I just dug deep, and it was really between me and the Bible, I mean, between me and God, I so desperately wanted to know who he truly was and why he had put me on this earth, that I sought after him until I found the answer that I was looking for. And now I look back and I'm like, not having that community was actually kind of a good thing. It was a blessing in disguise, if you will, because it pushed me to want to go find out for myself. Yeah.
that's beautiful. That's usually exactly what happens every time you seek him out. He becomes that friend that you've been missing. Once you let him in, it's so hard to ignore the blessings that he has for us. And I absolutely love that story. I love the fact that he was, he showed you that sometimes we have to go through the dirt and the struggles and things like that, even though we never want that on our lives or for else. A lot of us go through those things, and they're teaching lessons. At the moment, it seems like the worst thing, like, by me, but now you have a story to tell. Now you can encourage young women and, even moms to kind of pay attention to different what's that word I'm trying to say, different cues on how
Mhm.
you can help your children with this stuff. And you actually wrote a book. Now, Beyond the Brokenness, does that also tell your story as well on a deeper level?
Yeah, that's on a much deeper level of what we just discussed. As in regards to me growing up, finding Jesus, and all of that. Yeah. Um, I
That's
also share in there how I attempted suicide at 18 years old, and how that kind of really helped me. Surviving that, I was really able to find my destiny, because I finally woke up and I was like, Lord, I think you have something more for me.
Yeah. And can you, and I don't know how much you want to share, but what led that what led you to that in your life that you felt like, it's not time, it's no longer worth living? Like, what was going through your mind at the time, or what triggered that? And definitely let us know, the lessons you learned from it.
Yeah, I would, as I had mentioned, I was already suicidal at 8 years old. So this wasn't a one time, this wasn't a, one thing led up to that. But if I were to summarize what led to the moment of me actually doing that, was I literally had no hope, and I didn't think that my existence mattered on this earth. Like, if I were to summarize it, that's what I would say. I was completely hopeless, and I had no purpose. I really was convinced that my birth was a mistake, because I felt like that from day one that I can remember. Like, I wasn't the person my parents wanted. I was convinced they wanted me to be a boy because they had a farm and I have no older brothers, and just all of those things the enemy gets you to believe that really are lies, to convince you that you don't have a purpose, you don't have a destiny, therefore, why even try? Nobody cares about you, nobody wants you. That's what I was convinced of. And that's what led me up to the moment of actually attempting it. And I would say the biggest lesson I learned from that is there is just no place you can go that God can't.
Mm, mm,
He he has never left me. He has never forsaken me. I can the the Bible verse that I have on the back of my book, Isaiah 41:13. For I, the Lord your God, keep hold of your right hand. I am the Lord who says to you, do not fear, I will help you. And the
mm.
reason I chose that verse is because of what it means to me. And there are many lessons that I have learned from that, but the biggest one I would say was there is a destiny for me as well, and it doesn't end in disaster.
I love that. I love that. So, what would you advise those who either have attempted or are thinking to attempt to take their lives? And, what would you advise them now if they're listening to this podcast?
I would say, if you are in that situation where you feel like to end it is to end your life, just know that you really aren't trying to end your life. You're trying to end the pain that you're in. And that pain can be ended other than ending your life. And that is part of my life coaching. I mean, most of my clients, they are people who have been suicidal and kind of been down the road I have. And that's why I do what I do. Is everybody needs somebody. And if I would have had uh, someone like me today, I would have found another way out. And even more so, like, I want you to know that there is a purpose for you on this earth. If you are here, if you are breathing, if you have breath in your lungs, then you are not done yet. And there is a purpose for you here that has not been fulfilled yet. All you have to do is find that. And I mean, I would love to help you find that. You need to find somebody that will help you see your purpose until you can find it yourself. Um, I'm very, I'm very adamant about that, because that's how I felt. Was nobody cared, nobody wanted me. I mean, think about it. I was an 18-year-old who I had turned my back on my family and everything I had known. I barely knew enough survival skills to stay alive on this earth. And I had something I didn't mention was I was also, just a couple weeks before I attempted suicide, I was actually raped by a drug addict. And that was kind of the final straw of you just feel so worthless, and you just feel like there is just there's nothing left for you on this earth. The only way is to end your life, because nothing has changed. Well, it can change if you have the right resources and the right people to help you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, I am just glad that, Rebekah, you are here. You are a light to many, and you are going to change many lives. I just have chills. This is the second time I heard your story, more on a deeper level. Now, we are going to take a break. We are going to just show our lead sponsor, the Connected Leaders Academy, and we'll be back with Rebekah.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Hello, we are back here with Rebekah Hope, who is giving hope to many, many people around the world that are just going through some tough times in their head, where they feel that they are not worthy of living this one life that we get, whether because of struggle or trauma, but there is hope. And I believe that her message will reach millions, and it just has to, because we beat out 9,999,000,000, all of that. We beat out 9 billion sperms just to be here. We were the only ones that made it, right? Those that were that are here living and breathing, and we're here for a purpose. We're here to serve his kingdom, which you found God in this journey, and he has brought you to where you are today. So first and foremost, I definitely want to thank you for listening to that voice and really finding yourself within that. And we're just going to go back to a little bit more about you and what you're doing today. But before that, once what point did you finally find your purpose, and what was that purpose for you?
So my purpose, my destiny, I would say, when I got to that point was actually just a few years ago. It was after I published the book in 2019, and I had gotten to the point where I was like, okay, like I'm feeling there's a purpose for me, but what's that purpose? And continue seeking God. Like, I really want to know what I'm supposed to do now that I'm committed to staying on this earth. And I'm convinced that he wants me here. It was, it wasn't that long ago. I would say 3 years ago. I was on my bedroom floor, on my knees, just seeking God. I wanted to know, what is it that you want me to do? And clear as day, I heard him tell me, you are to bring hope to people. I am to bring hope to people, and I am to use my story. And that was like, sharing your story is a very vulnerable thing. So for me, that was like, what? Like, I wrote a book, but I didn't expect to ever have to talk about it. But once I also just submitted myself to God, and I said, okay, Lord, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. And that's when I just really came to the realization, my story is not my own. It was actually his in the writing the entire time. And it's a very selfish thing of me to not want to share it in hopes to help other people be set free as well. And it was such a freeing thing. And now, like, my mission is to help other people with my story, to help them be able to get to where I have. And, like, most importantly, realize that if you don't have a best friend, Jesus can be your best friend. I actually, he's the only best friend I've ever had, to be honest. And he's the only one who's never left me. And that, like, he just never will, because he's not going to leave his children alone. And there, I found so much reassurance in that. So kind of a blessing in disguise. Like, yeah, I never had any friends, never had any close friends, but that caused me to actually realize realize how good of a friend Jesus is. And there's it's so freeing once you get to that place.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I actually found my church 3 years ago as well. And it was, I grew up Catholic, but I just felt like I was missing something. Not that there's anything wrong with any religion, because there's just one God, right? And finding a community of people that are going to lift you up in his spirit and show you the word, especially if you're not if you don't know what the word looks like or how it feels. Once he starts making those things happen for you, it kind of becomes apparent. It's very, he'll let you know, and he has the funniest way of blessing you, and you won't realize it until times later that, anything that you have been through, whether it's success, whether it's, just a lesson taught, it's always because he put those in your path for growth. And that's the whole point of really serving what your purpose is and stirring that. We are just the vessels. We this, none of this, my book and everything else that I've done, what you've done, Rebekah, this is really for other people to just come join us on this mission to lift each other up and really find each other's purpose. So talk about your life coaching program, and how can they get a hold of you, what does that look like, and what to expect.
Yeah. So in summary, my life coaching, what I do is I help people use the things that they feel has broken them, and I use that to help. I teach them to use that to walk in their destiny. Um, an example of that would be, I thought that I was broken because of the things that happened to me. Well, it's not that I'm broken, it's that there are different pieces of my life. And when we learn how to put those pieces together, it's actually that helps you walk in your destiny. And in summary, that's what I do, is I help you put the pieces of your life together and use them to walk in your destiny, regardless of what those pieces are. Nobody's pieces are too hard, too bad to not be used, because that's exactly what they're for. So it can't be that they're too hard, because that's the purpose of it. And I just, like, I am here to help you find that if you don't have it. That is my ultimate goal. And as I said, like, there's hope for all. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe there's hope for all. That's why I'm not going to turn anyone away. And you can find me either email at info@rebekahhope.org, or you can go to my website. You can always find me on social media under Rebekah Hope. It's super easy to just reach out and find me somewhere.
Yes, so I have your website scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Definitely connect to that website. Definitely see how Rebekah could help you really change that mindset. And how important is it to have a coach, someone in your life as a leader to really guide you when you're lost? Can you just share that?
If I wouldn't have had that, I wouldn't be where I am today. It was a combination of me seeking God, asking Him to bring the right people into my life. And as a result of that, people showed up in my life that I needed. Some of them, they were there for a season and I've never talked to them since, but the purpose that they had while they were in my life, they fulfilled that. And that's why they say, like, whether for a season or for life, but always for a reason when people come into your life. And the reason it is so important to have someone to help you walk through that is because we are very limited to what we can see in our own life. I needed an outside perspective for someone to come and say, look, Rebekah, it's not as it appears. Let me show you why. And it was just like scales fell off my eyes. And I was like, whoa, I never saw that before. And I wouldn't have seen it if it wouldn't have been for an outside perspective. And I just want to say also that for me, that outside perspective could not have been my family. It was not my family because of the relationship that I had with them and the things that happened. I wouldn't have listened to them. I would have, there was just no way. It was actually much easier for me to go find someone who really didn't know me and maybe after the season will never see me again. It allowed me to be in a place of sharing vulnerability and just letting them know like what I'm going through, how I'm feeling, that safe place. And I've been burnt many times in my life, but through that, like I have learned who I can trust and who I can't. But ultimately, what I also realized is I need to trust God if I can't trust people. And if I just trust Him, He will bring the right people in my life, and He's going to take care of it. If I don't trust this person, God's going to take care of it. Yeah.
I love that. Yes, definitely take chances because sometimes we have that fear of not really stepping out of our comfort zone because we've been so conditioned to not trust or to have our walls up. And there's some limits, there's some barriers that you definitely have to be aware of, but there are still great people out there looking to help you. Like they're waiting for you. Like we are waiting for you. Whenever you're ready, we will be here. We have the tools. We've been through what we've been through. And, you have also been through like the listeners and, people that have been following the show. And if you feel like you resonate with Rebekah, definitely contact her. She is phenomenal and she needs to have her story continue, as we all do. And if you're afraid to get your story out, again, let us help you pull that out, so that you can serve the people that are waiting on you. So thank you so much, Rebekah. Thank you for sharing your story. Now you are part of the BALM family. Absolutely love you. Can't wait to continue to grow with you and see how we can collaborate together. We're both coaches. We're both life coaches. We both help kind of on the same tier. But this is what I love about our communities is that it's never competition. It's always about uplifting each other up and giving each other the platforms that, we grow together as one. So I'm honored to have had you grace our stage. Any final words you want to give to our audience?
A final word would be, as my husband says best, never give up. And an extension of that, don't just not give up, seek until you find. And when you do, you keep seeking, you will find. And so I just encourage you to keep going and keep going until you find what you're looking for.
The answers are out there. Thank you so much, Rebekah. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into another episode of Building a Leadership Mindset podcast. See you on the next one. And as I always say, make it count.
Thank you, Nikki.
You're welcome.